I think every veteran, particularly those in the special operations community that goes out and writes a book, shares their story, is involved in the movie. Some people love it, but they're also oftentimes attacked. Like we have this kind of oath of secrecy or privacy, but in protecting the community. But the truth is, we have a responsibility to make sure our stories are told correctly. And I could tell you that I joined the military because of military books and military movies. It inspired me. So we have a responsibility also to inspire the next generation.
100%.
And to make sure it's done right. So what's your take on that, on the hate and some of that negativity behind it?
Yeah. So here's something that I'll say. I think I first said this on Travis Haley's podcast, but at some point, for whatever reason, the community, especially my old unit, is the most guilty, at least in my opinion, of this. At some point, it turned into silent professional. Mm-hmm. And the reality is we were never supposed to be silent professionals. We're supposed to be quiet ones. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference between being silent and being quiet. And what I've learned is if all the professionals are truly silent, then the community's image is going to be dictated by the loud unprofessionals. And that's just the reality.
Sure.
And so in my opinion, the silent professionals, in my opinion, have a duty to become quiet professionals, to try and put out there the right information, not try and heroize themselves and talk about how great they are, but put out accurate, authentic information so that the loud unprofessionals don't dictate the narrative of who you're supposed to be, what the community is. We're not superheroes, invincible superheroes that feel nothing and super badass. That's not us. That's not at least the majority. And people who push that narrative, I don't agree with it, and I see through it. Anyone who's truly secure is secure because they know how weak they are. And projecting strength is actually weakness, and projecting weakness is actually strength. So personally, I feel that, we need to have more quiet professionals put themselves out there and put their stories out there to tell these young kids, this new generation. When you got kids today looking up to the Andrew Tates of the world, there's a reason for that. And the reason is because they have no other role models, or no other role models. They don't know what a man is. Yeah. Straight up. And so let me back up. I'll tell you what they have figured out. They have figured out that the nice, soft man who's nice to girls, who's nice to everyone, they've figured out that doesn't work.
Right.
And they're pissed off about it. So then they're getting pushed to the Andrew Tates of the world. Is he extreme? 100%. Mm-hmm. Do I agree with almost anything he says? No. But him saying to not be nice, and all these different things, that is something that's resonating, because as boys transition to men, we've gotten rid of the masculine rite of passage.
You say young boys have a desire to be masculine because that's what they were created and wired to do.
Exactly. And there's no more rite of passage where we take young boys, kidnap them from the village. They stay out in the, wherever for 2-3 days, and then they come back and then they're treated as men. That doesn't exist anymore, except for pretty much the military, right? And so these kids are looking for masculine role models, and in a vacuum of them, they're going to find the Andrew Tates of the world. And it's, I think, our duty to show them that masculinity isn't that. It's quiet strength, but what it's not is complete and total, constant kindness and being rolled over and being taken advantage of. And so I think we have a duty to show the next generation of what masculinity really is.
Yeah. And then, like you said, you steward it too, and make sure that, advising, like you're doing, military advising, make sure these stories are told correctly.
Yeah.
And I would say that, we definitely want to get into your story, but while we're here, I'll say that SEAL Team, the movie, one of the first things I noticed about it when I first saw it was like, hey man, that looks like a team room. Mm-hmm. That cage, that's what the cage looks like. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that right away. And I know you had a big part of that. How's all that work behind the scenes to take you're you're a producer, actor, advisor on SEAL Team. How's all that work?
I mean, sorry, what do you mean by how?
Like how's it when a movie gets made?
Yeah.
Like SEAL Team, like it goes from like script to screen.
Yeah.
What's the due diligence, I guess, to make sure that the authenticity is there? Because it's not always there in most films.
No. I mean, what it comes down to is that Hollywood is a machine, and it is a shockingly well-oiled machine. I've taken like Caleb Cry one time came to set and saw like the logistics, and he's like, "Holy cow, this is amazing! Like the military could learn a lot from the way the logistics are done.
The efficiencies, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable." Yeah. And everyone does. There's a lot of parallels, by the way. Everyone does one job, so when that department or when that's lacking, everyone knows who's responsible, just like kind of the military. But it's because it's such a well-oiled machine, they don't want anything to get in the way of that process. So when you're talking about military stuff, where most military advisors go wrong is they try and change Hollywood to fit no, it has to be this way, it has to be done this way, no, you're not going to change that. You're not going to change that industry. So where I've been successful is I came in, first of all, I love film, I understand I love it, and so I came in, I went, okay, I'm not going to try and change their process, I'm going to try and figure out how to sell authenticity to them as something other than authenticity. And the way I think I was really successful is I sold authenticity, not as authenticity, but as time savings and cost savings. Time and money, they care about. Time is money, obviously. So that's what they care about. They don't care about whether a helmet's right or not. Hollywood doesn't care, period. It's just a fact. They care about the story. They care about all these different things. And so I focused on, how could I manipulate what I want out of that system rather than trying to force that system to revolve around me.
What led you, I guess, what's the transition for you to get you into Hollywood? Was it an opportunity to advise, or
no,
desire to do it?
No. So I was very lucky in that when I was a kid, there was two things I wanted to do. That's it. Two things. I wanted to be in special operations, Army specifically, because of two reasons. One, I don't float, so anything with the water was out. But two, Rambo, First Blood, technically. Yeah. Well, I should say, and Rambo in general. But First Blood, I was like, I want to be a Green Beret. That was just that from whatever year that came out, 80, whatever it was. That was just what I wanted to do. And then the other thing, partly also because of First Blood, was work in film. I love storytelling. I loved, I think as a kid, I shut off all emotion. So it's a longer story, but the only time I would feel something was when I watched movies. I didn't really realize that until, last couple of years. But so that was it. That's what I wanted to do. And then when my military career ended, when I got hurt, I went to the second thing, which was I went out to Hollywood. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any experience. I didn't have any education. I just went out there and started grinding. And it took me a while, but I eventually, got to a place where I was working consistently and had some great opportunities. And mainly because of my passion, it's like I tell, people ask about selection courses in the military, like, what dictates this and how do people make this versus that don't? I tell everyone the same thing. Everyone, the only way that you can make any selection process, I don't care what it is you have to want it bad enough to overcome the level of discomfort that is being presented. If you don't want it bad enough, you're not going to cruise through any of those selection courses, right? And I'll just kind of finish my thought on that. It's a little off topic, but I'll say it is so many people, I'll use SEALs, obviously, a lot of kids that fail, buds, not that I was, buds instructor, but I'm saying anything, if kids that fail anything are failing because they don't want to be SEALs. They want to be ex-SEALs. And if you want to be an X because you're trying to prove something to yourself and trying to get the title of a badass that people respect, later, that's not enough. That's not enough. It's not going to carry you through the level of discomfort and pain that you're going to have to go on.
Not when you're laying down in 50 degrees.
2 a.m. freezing. It's not going to get you through. What's going to get you through is you having the passion to do that actual job, to be it, not to be an ex.
Yeah. So you talk about SEALs. You were a Delta Force guy, but you play the part of a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, I've literally been a SEAler next to, I think, 5 times now in Hollywood. Yeah.
Did you audition for the role of a advisor or an actor for SEAL Team?
No, with SEAL Team. So the pilot happened. I am good friends with, well, now he's out, Marco and Matt Bissonette, he's out, normal name now. And he had never worked, I had been advising at that point for, I don't know, at least 7 years, I think. And he had, he was an executive producer, but he had never, worked on set. So he called me up and was like, hey man, like I this pilot's happening. I can't do it. He also had a time commitment and he asked if I could. So I think that was a Wednesday. I flew down there on a Friday and became the advisor for the pilot. When the pilot, the way I got on camera was we were filming the pilot. Actually, I think it's before we started filming, but I told the producers, I said, hey, you don't have enough people on this team. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, you've got a scene where, you have 4 principal actors on the team. And I'm like, they come into a room and there's like women, and children injured. And I'm like, and you have them basically just coming into the room. Actually, I think it was in the doorway, but you have them stopping in the doorway and having this conversation, all 4 of them. And I'm like, that's not going to work. And they're like, what do you mean? I go, someone's got to clear the room. Someone's got to start attending to the women and children, or it's going to look ridiculous, right? So I'm like, you need other people on the team to do stuff in that environment. And you guys haven't, I know the environment, you don't, you're going to see what I mean. And so they were like, oh, okay. And to their credit, they listened and they're like, well, you want to do it? And I was like, sure. So that was how I got on the show.
And you didn't act before.
So I learned very early on. So I did a movie called Snitch with Dwayne Johnson in like 2012. My buddy worked on it for, I think, 3 weeks as an actor. I worked on it for 3 months. He made 3 times more than me. I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen again. So after that, I basically just said, hey, I'll advise, but you're going to put me on an actor contract because you need the union protection, and not to get too much into it. But that was my first speaking role, was on that movie Snitch with my good buddy Rick Waugh. And then after that, Suicide Squad or anything I did after that, it was just, hey, put me on camera. I'll do some of the technical stunts that you'd have to hire someone to do anyways, and I'd have to teach them to do it. It's easier if I just do it, and then we'll figure out the contract from there. So that's how I got on camera. Was just trying to make more money. I never wanted to be an actor. That was never my thing.